I know this doesn't look like a Die Hard game, but bear with me. This is technically a Die Hard game. But this isn't. This is Periscope. But the game that this is based on, or the game where this lives, is a Die Hard game. So we're looking at Die Hard Arcade. Although technically we're looking at Dynamite Deka, which is the Japanese release. So this game came out as Dynamite Deka in Japan, and then when it came out in America and Europe, it came out as Die Hard Arcade. And it's worth pointing out that this isn't the original version of Die Hard Arcade. This is the PlayStation 2 re-release, which only ever came out in Japan. So we've got a arcade game that came out on the Sega Saturn, which wasn't Die Hard themed in Japan, but it was everywhere else. Oh, we're going to get a cutscene. And then it was re-released in the PS2 in Japan, and this is the PlayStation 3 version of the PlayStation 2 re-release, running on a European PlayStation 3. With that out of the way, let's play some Dynamite Deka. I'm going to save everyone the misery of watching me get, 2 levels in. We're going to go easy mode. So, in terms of what this actually is, it's kind of it's what we consider a HD remaster at this point. They've kind of tied up the textures and the graphics. Soundtrack sounds identical to me. And having played both the Saturn version and this version, they're quite similar. So it's I say a 2D brawler. It's a 3D brawler. It's Streets of Rage, but in 3D. There was a bunch of these at the time. I mean, this was a particularly early one. I can't remember off the top of my head when this game originally came out. I think it was 96, maybe 97. But I certainly remember playing the Sega Saturn demo for this game and thinking it was really good. And I still think there's still a lot of charm to this. Like, a lot of those 3D brawlers were really clunky. You had stuff like Fighting Force and Urban Chaos, and that Final Fight game that came out on the PlayStation. Those games didn't translate very particularly well into 3D. This one is surprising in that it does. Okay. So this is where this Japanese version becomes a problem, is that I never know which button to press. I was supposed to look that up before I started doing this, and I forgot. Brilliant. So this is one of the very early experiences with QuickTime events. Back in 96, 97. This was before Shenmue. This was before God of War. Long before God of War. Sega was playing around with this stuff. This is after stuff like Dragon's Lair? Space Ace, all that kind of stuff. The FMV QuickTime event games. But in terms of a brawler like this, kind of an interesting idea. Kind of breaks the gameplay up a little bit. But in terms of combat, like it's got a lot going for it. Like, there's weapons, as you can see with that guy who's got a rocket launcher. I've got a fire axe. Again, the thing for me with these games is how frustrating is the combat? Which actually in this case, it's pretty good. There's certainly some frustrating moments, but I want that rocket launcher. Oh, that's gone badly. Rocket launcher in the face. Pick up a handgun clip. Something not right about just launching a rocket launcher directly in someone's face. Seems rude. Oh, I want to pick that health up. This was developed internally by Sega. I think it was AM1 who created this. And it's, by today's standards, by this game being almost 20 years old, can you think of Sega making a Die Hard game? I mean, can you think of anybody making an arcade game? Let's be fair. But at the time, this was interesting, and here's the bad guy. So I think the reason this game is so interesting is that I seem to think this was an American-developed game. I don't think this was developed in Japan, which explains why all the cutscenes are in English with Japanese subtitles. So I probably should explain the periscope stuff. What the hell's that? Oh, I turned into the Ultra Beast guy. How did I do that? Interesting. I don't know that that was in the original. I think that's an addition for this. Yeah, when you consider there was kind of two contemporary Die Hard games at the time, and we'll look at both. Oh Christ! Can I remember what button I'm supposed to press here? Nope. Yeah. This is a section where this fire engine just repeatedly squirts you water, unless you get behind a pillar, which I'm failing to do here. Yeah, I should explain the periscope thing. So, when this game originally came out on the Sega Saturn, it had a limited number of continues. Unlike a lot of arcade ports that would just let you go forever or let you set your own credits, you had to earn them, which is kind of a weird concept. So, in the original Sega Saturn version, you played a game called Deep Heat, which is like a submarine game. 2D, very basic, kind of looks like an early 80s Sega arcade game. I don't know if it actually is a Sega arcade game, or whether it's just styled to look like one. It might be. But the idea is the more points you get in that mini game, the more credits you earn, which is why, so when you boot this game up, even the PS2 version, you get 4 credits. And so I played a quick couple of games of Periscope to get myself up to 19 credits, just in case. Because this game gets really difficult. This is the easy stuff. Just wait until we come across the robots. And no, I don't know what the robots have got to do with Die Hard. Oh, it's gone bad. Gone bad for old Beast guy. The great thing about this game is that it was, you know, like all good brawlers, it was 2-player. So you could sit and play 2-player co-op. Oh, I'm not going to get any of these, am I? Embarrassing. I mean, it's worth pointing out this doesn't actually look that much better than the Sega Saturn version. I mean, the Sega Saturn version had what all Sega Saturn games have, which is all the polygons look like they're falling apart. You know, it's only just being held together with gaffer tape, whereas this looks clean and like a PS2 game should do. But this is actually a really good re-release. Sega had a knack at this point, so they were doing these PS2 re-releases. The first batch of which they brought some of them over in a collection. I think it was the Sega Classics or something. Oh. Oh, I keep showing up. Oh, flamethrower. Yes, please. Oh wait, that's that harpoon? What the hell is that? It's quite fun juggling guys with those weapons. Yeah, it's, you know, they did stuff like Altered Beast and Space Harrier, and those weren't good, if I remember rightly. But by the end of the PS2, this came out in 2006, so we're talking sort of late era PS2. This is a really good, well thought out remaster. It's the kind of stuff I wish Sega were doing now. I mean, this is available on the Japanese PSN store. I think it was about 900 yen or something like that. So it is, you know, it's possible to get hold of this still, but they started re-releasing some of that stuff. I know they did Knights, which ended up being a 360 and PS3 port. But they've done stuff like, there's a Monster World collection, which I think actually that might have gotten re-released. Maybe it's not the same version, but they have started re-releasing the Monster World games. And there's a treasure box, which has got Gunstar Heroes and Dynamite Heady and all those sorts of games. And they're kind of lovingly crafted collections. This is just an individual game, but... Yeah, I got one! Take that! You know, for the 900 yen, you know, that's what, 8 or 9 quid. You could easily re-release this on Xbox One and PS4, Steam for 8 quid. Because I'm sure most people actually probably don't even know this exists. Anytime I tell them my favourite Die Hard game is not Die Hard Trilogy, they look at me with confusion. And then I tell them it's Die Hard Arcade, and they've got no idea what I'm talking about. Unless they owned a Sega Saturn, which, you know, especially in Europe, very rare. This is what I was talking about with the robots. This is usually, when I'm playing with 5 credits, this is usually where I end up dying. Even for 2-player. Because I'm trying to make it past this. Oh. Yeah, gun doesn't really help with the robot, does it? Oh, what's that? It's also debatable how much this has got to do with Die Hard, really. If I wasn't playing as Altered Beast guy, for whatever reason, the guy does look a little bit like John McClane. He also looks nothing like Hans Gruber. Did he not think to look in the desk? Uncharted territory. I don't think I've ever made it this far. So they also made sequels to this. None of them with the Die Hard name, so none of them I would consider viable for this series. But they did Dynamite Cop, which is Dynamite Deka 2 in Japan. That was a Dreamcast game. And, oh god, there's something else that was really funny. The name of it. Look off. Look off to the side to see if I can see it on my monitor. I was reading about this a little bit. Look at that. Ah, come on. There we go. Yeah, by today's standards, the controls are kind of clumsy, but I always thought in these games they were. Anytime you've got combat happening on multiple planes, trying to, you know, shift up and down into the screen to make sure that you're actually punching the guy, not just punching the air behind him. I've also just noticed that arcade game I was talking about in the Saturn version, it's not called, did I call it Deep Fear? Which I think is a Saturn game, but it's not the one I was thinking of. It's Deep Scan. It's the late 70s. Oh, frame rate. PS2 emulation's not really working out so well. I wonder if that happens on Japanese PS3s, or it's just because I'm playing it on a European one. Also a shame this isn't out on PS4, because PS4, PS2 re-releases have been very good quality so far. And they've got the added benefit of having trophies. Yes, that's good. So you compare this to the other brawlers we've played in this so far. This has got an element of complexity that I feel like the other two have been missing. Maybe it's just the weapon combat. Nope. What's that? Is this going to be a Golden Axe special thing? This is the worst way to try and... I thought this was going to be the best way to try and show this game, because A, the Saturn version for some reason changes resolution every 15 seconds. Every time you go to a loading screen, the resolution changes and it throws off every capture gear I've tried to use to capture it. But I figured this would be more authentic than trying to emulate a Saturn game on a PC. Ah. I think the problem with re-releasing this game is that not having the Die Hard license on it might be quite difficult. Although, how expensive can the Die Hard license really be at this point? That last film was atrocious. Doesn't have Bruce Willis's likeness in it. It's, you know, I don't think there's any expense there. Is that a Golden Axe reference, or is that not a Beast reference? Is this all Golden Axe? I'm supposed to be somebody who knows this Sega stuff, but my brain is failing me. I like these little wireframes as well, they're quite cool. What is that noise? Oh. I do like the jump kick because it's been a lot of force behind it. What's that? Is it? Just life up. Also, the unfortunate thing with this game, unless you go and buy this PS2 re-release, the Sega Saturn version got very expensive very quick. I remember, so when I got into trying to collect Sega Saturn stuff, oh, see, I can read that one. Yes, it's not got Japanese text on it. That's helpful. Yeah, when I was collecting Sega Saturn stuff 10 years ago, it was 30-40 quid then, and it's still that much, if not more. It's just one of those games they didn't print many of, I guess. Early enough in the Sega Saturn life cycle that they didn't make many, and possibly because it's licensed, they didn't re-release it. I don't know that many Sega Saturn games got re-released. They didn't have... It wasn't around long enough to have a platinum range or a, you know, kind of a budget re-release of certain series. It is a shame, because especially if you were a Saturn owner, the choice between Die Hard Arcade and Die Hard Trilogy is quite easy for me, because the Saturn version of Die Hard Trilogy wasn't brilliant. Although if you didn't... So at the time I hadn't seen the PlayStation version, not owning one. So the Sega Saturn version was perfectly fine by me. If you compare those two side by side now, they are surprising how different they are. That walk animation is pretty amazing. Remember that section in Die Hard where they were all just standing around in a nice hotel room? A giant bone? Don't like the look of what weapon he's got. It's an industrial gardening implement. I'll beat you to death with a bone. Ah! Get up! Oh, I shouldn't have wasted all the ammo. I didn't realize that guy was coming. I'm kind of sitting here thinking, would I recommend this to people now? I've certainly played worse. I mean, I've played worse brawlers that have been re-released recently. Considering this game is 20 years old nearly, it holds up remarkably well. I think the thing that makes it easy to recommend for me is that I don't think many people got exposure to it. You know, the people who owned Sega Saturns early, they were putting it on Sega flash discs quite often, so you've got a demo of this probably. But that's if you were buying the magazines. I think most people's Sega Saturn exposure at this point is, you know, Virtua Fighter, Sega Rally, Daytona, Knights, maybe? I think a lot of the other more obscure stuff like Burning Rangers and Die Hard Arcade.
Someone help me.
I suppose the 2D Marvel games are still well liked.
So the cat has found the mouse.
The cat's found the mouse? Yes, right on the D-pad, I can do that. Oh, I see, I can move between the two at any point. Nice.
Someone help me.
Voice acting's not its strongest suit, I will say. Oh. Need that rocket launcher, sir. Would you like to hand me that? Yeah, could point it at people, that would help. The weapons are quite crude, I will say. It's not changing the gameplay that dramatically. That's something I really enjoy about shooting the rocket launcher. I will say the Sega Saturn rocket launcher I prefer in terms of graphics because it's just a big box that they put on their shoulder. Yes! So what I should have done is learn Japanese and then play this game. Faceplant. What are the giant toads doing on that desk? Also, I'm eternally grateful to the fine people at Sega for putting an easy mode in this game, because this video would already be over if they hadn't. And short of me sitting here and playing Periscope for 3 hours. Well, I will say I kind of miss Deep Scan. It's very slow and very ancient. I mean, 1970 something, but there was something novel about having a game that old as your little mini game. It's kind of the equivalent of playing a little bit of Galaxian while you're waiting for Ridge Racer to load. With that rocket launcher. Sure, it's somebody else. Yeah, there we go. Oh, a big dude with a fire on his back. Fire on his back? So you can just juggle enemies. There we go. That's most of his health taken out. Yeah, so the game's getting more brutally difficult, or I'm just getting lazier. Not trying as hard.
So there you are. You got here just in time. This whole building will explode in 5 minutes. But you won't live to see it anyway!
He's talking without moving his mouth. Oh jeez. Here we go. He kind of looks like a Virtua Fighter. He kind of looks like the Virtua Fighter character who's always got the bottle with him. I don't know what his name is. That did no damage whatsoever. Gone through the roof. Can I use the... Oh, that was a bad idea. Aha. Shame I can't use the sword that's on my back. Whose office allows them to do that? Just random bits of geometry sticking out. should have seen it when I saw the little pixels of texture breaking between the face and the portrait at the back. You can see the seams where the... There we go, finally got some health off his health. This is more like it. See, he can block. If I was clever, I would have figured out how to block by now. This is why I never play fighting games, because I'm not very good at blocking. I have a tendency to just jump in and want to kick things over and over again. Oops. Also in these games I have a tendency to dash past people. I just realised, is that portrait supposed to be that guy? That little giggle as well? Oh, it's like a Yakuza game. We're gonna have a shirtless fight at the on the roof. Apart from now, he's got a knife. Many knives. This doesn't seem like a fair fight. I also don't like when you jump kick. Occasionally, they're invulnerable to you. There we go. So you can kind of jump kick through their standing up animation, which I suppose is kind of standard fighting game fare. You have, what would we call it, frames of invulnerability. I'm sure there's a technical term in the fighting community, but I'm not a part of that, so I'm just going to say frames of not hurtiness. I'm becoming painfully aware that I fear I'm just going to finish this game. Which is, it's fine, but I didn't set that as my expectation. Or maybe not, actually. I've only got 8 credits left. Unless this is the last encounter. I've almost got his health down. So in the original game, you don't get 2 health bars. I should explain what easy mode is actually doing. It's giving me more health and giving them less. And bearing in mind that you normally start with 5 credits and not 19. God knows how much this was to cost to complete in the arcade. To use that many credits. Unless you're one of those crazy people who can finish Metal Slug in 1 credit.
Thank you.
And that day, John McClane, or the guy from Golden Axe, saved everybody's life. There you go. That's Die Hard Arcade, or Dynamite Deka. That's the first time I finished that game. That's 900 yen well spent, 800 and whatever yen it was. I still think that game's kind of cool. It's really short because it's an arcade game. All those brawlers, especially if you play on easy mode, you can finish in half an hour. So, Streets of Rage, you can finish in maybe an hour, but maybe a little bit less. They're not especially long games, but the whole point of them is they're replayable with multiple people. So, I think this game's kind of cool. I probably think this is one of the best, if not the best, Die Hard games. Not to spoil future Die Hard content, but there's something pure and kind of innocent about this. That something as complex as Die Hard Trilogy that has 3 games worth of content can't match. And, the first-person shooters that came after it certainly don't match. So, yeah, get yourself a copy of Die Hard Arcade. I mean, it's really difficult to recommend because, what, you're going to go buy a 45 quid copy of the Sega Saturn game? Probably not. If you could find yourself... I don't even know... I wonder if the arcade original is emulatable. I assume it must be. Maybe that's one way you might be able to play it, but either way, if you're looking for a brawler you haven't played before, Die Hard Arcade's pretty awesome. Strongly recommended. 19.5 minutes. Yeah. As I say, we'll never get to look at the 2 sequels because they've got nothing to do with Die Hard. As much as this game has got anything to do with it. Oh, have I unlocked Altered Beast mode? Excellent. Very exciting. Nice animation. Yeah, it's a great game. You know, it's very easy to recommend. It's a bit tricky to get hold of, as you can tell by the fact we're having to play the Japanese version. Oh, that was the code for Altered Beast mode. Well, at least I've captured that on camera, so I can come back and reuse it. Anyway, that's it. We'll look at more Die Hard stuff later on.